this. All right, everybody, welcome to the Almost Awesome Podcast, number 17. Hopefully all of you guys are having a great Monday night. If it's not Monday for you, whatever day it is, hopefully you're having a good day or night. I'm doing pretty good. And, of course, we got with me my brother, my co-host, Kid Reynolds. We got Matt here. How you doing, Matt?
What is up? Thank you, Mark. I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Happy to be on the podcast. Trying something out a little bit different this week, with the new headset, new venue. So we'll see how it works out. Sorry if I look a little yellow. But I'm feeling good. I feel like it's going to be a fun podcast, a little bit different from what we usually do. So I'm excited.
Yeah, hopefully. So unfortunately, we don't have a special guest for tonight. But that is on purpose. For tonight, we're actually doing something a little different, something that we kind of had in the talks for a while, and we were trying to find the right timing to do it. And we figured, you know what? Who cares about the timing? Let's just do it. I think we've done a good amount of podcasts, and it's time. It's time for that sweet filler recap episode before we get back into the main arc of our story. So tonight is just going to be kind of just like recapping of like the past podcasts, kind of reflecting on like how we feel like things are going and stuff like that. Because even through the few podcasts that we've done, we've kind of gone through like a good amount of changes within them. Like I went back and just looked at like some of the stuff that we did before, like with our first guest with Javid, and like we now switched over to like an 1 hour segment, which at least for most of the guests it seemed to be pretty positive. The only downside was that it seemed like it just wasn't enough. Like there are always more things to talk about, but I think that's always like it's always a good thing, right? And like I'm not 100% sure how it is for the viewers. Hopefully you guys enjoy the shorter bits of the podcast as opposed to having to dedicate the whole 2 hours for one episode. So hopefully it's little bite-sized meals to sink your teeth into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gotta say, like, in terms of growth, I feel like each time we actually are getting better, like, end to end in the podcast, whether it be the way we interact with our guests or, continuously improving our format. I feel like each week we are striving to make the show a little bit better, not only for us as, like, hosts, but also our viewers, hopefully. And I think it actually, like, starts the show. I feel like more and more the podcast is getting a little bit more attention, and like it becomes something a little bit easier to talk about. Like if someone asks me what I'm doing on a Monday night, it's cool because I can actually talk about the podcast and like explain to them what it is, what the concept is, and it's not just another podcast or like yeah, I'm just busy and I don't want to talk about it. It's nice because it's actually taking shape and taking form. So I'm really excited. I think it's really awesome.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask, Mark, so far, what do you think has been like the hardest thing about the podcast so far? Episode 17.
So it was funny. I was actually talking to one of my friends about this and how we haven't brought anyone on yet, at least that I know of. But it happened with like a lot of friends. I feel like a lot of people have like the idea, like where they're like, "Oh, I want to start a podcast, and let's just do it." And like you kind of hear about it, but then it like dies off. And then like obviously from like an audience point of view, like if I've like only barely heard of like whatever podcast you're doing, or maybe they did one episode and they didn't really like advertise it too well, or like it just wasn't known. Like for me, I'm like, oh, so what happened to it? Like why didn't you just keep going with it? So I think one thing that was kind of revealing for, at least for my end, since we're doing it, is I can understand why people drop it. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of effort, a lot of work. Like I didn't realize it until like we kind of got into it, and like I think we're doing a good job of like how we're taking it, or like where we're going. But it definitely is a lot more work than I had anticipated. Like, honestly, I thought it was just gonna be like, shits and giggles. We're just gonna talk and like grab friends and be like, hey, you want to come hang out on the podcast and just like talk about random nonsense. Which I mean, some people do, and it like some people are good at it. It's entertaining. It's great. But I do like the way that we've done it now, where we kind of did that before, where we were kind of like, let's just go in, let's catch up, let's talk, let's have a natural conversation, and it's nice. But I do like the way that we have it now, where it's a little bit more structured, right? Especially with like the time constraint, and we to shed some light on behind the scenes stuff. We do kind of set up like what kind of conversational topics we're going to talk about, and I think it helps us like stay on track and stay organized and really like make use of like the time that we have. There aren't a lot of like weird silent lull moments where we're just like, okay, so where do we go from this moment? And I know we talked about it before too, where we're still trying to learn how to make like better transitions between topics. But then it's also brought up where it's just like, I mean, you don't really need to have a smooth transition to another topic. Like if you just think about like an everyday conversation, like sometimes people just jump from point A to point Q real quick, and you're like, how did we get here? But then you're like, I'm not gonna ask, but because this question's like interesting and intriguing, I'm just gonna accept it and keep going to point Q.
Yeah. Like just enjoy the conversation and how it's playing out, and not question it too much or wonder why, and just like, again, to me, it's like enjoying the present moment and like finding that balance is really important. But that's cool. So it sounds like the hardest thing for you was like getting used to the amount of work that actually goes behind these kind of things.
Yeah,
I feel like it's easy as a listener to see, and I think a good podcast makes it feel like it's unscripted. They just turn on the camera and they just start talking. But I think almost every podcast or every talk show, there's so much more behind the scenes, and I think that also like kind of creates the beauty of the show, because they go through that and they make it seem so seamless to everyone else.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting there.
Yeah, I think like as we keep going, I think it can end up being like less and less kind of like planned. Like obviously, like the idea of the podcast is just to help us become better conversation holders and participants, right? And like it is a learning process, and until like we're able to just kind of naturally, as hosts, direct the conversation and stuff like that to whatever pathway we so choose. It is nice to have like the crutch or like the assistance of the pre-planning and having like the topics ahead of time. And I think it definitely helps with the guests just like feel comfortable that we're not going to throw like a wrench like out there and like give them a question that they have no idea how to answer, or something they may be uncomfortable talking about. And luckily I don't think we've run across that situation. I think most people have been pretty well equipped for like what we're going to ask. And I mean, we do, like I said, we do give them like, the topics that we're going to talk about, but there are a lot of times where we don't really give them, okay, this is the topic we're going to talk about, and here are the exact questions that we're going to ask you. Like the questions that we ask are, sometimes they're natural, and it's kind of like flowing on like how the conversation's going or where it's going. And like, do we want more of explanation here, or do we just go next and stuff like that? But I think it definitely helps just to get people who aren't used to like this sort of format of like conversation, or like people who aren't used to having like a long conversation, which probably a lot of people. I think it just helps them kind of like be a little bit more relaxed. It's like, imagine like going into a test and like whether you study beforehand or you don't. It's just like, if you have a pop quiz, you're going to be nervous. It's like, they could be asking me any question. I don't know what to do. But like if like, okay, here's a study guide for your exam, your exam's going to be at this date and time, you have time to prepare and like figure out, okay, how am I going to answer, each question, what do I need to study for? And it's not as nerve-wracking going into it when you have like some sort of expectation walking in.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps. And I think the surprising thing to me is the more we do the podcast, the more I realize like we don't get a lot of practice just sitting and talking with someone with no ulterior thing going on,
Mm-hmm.
or like a party in the background, or us drinking. Like very few times do I actually get to sit down and the only focus of that like meeting is just to talk and catch
Mm-hmm.
up with someone. And I feel like that really shines a light on how not used to just focusing on a conversation, and like how important, like how used we are to multitasking or doing multiple things at once, and then putting the conversation piece as like a side part of what's
Mm-hmm.
really going on and hoping that it clicks.
Yeah.
Now instead, I like it because we're focusing on the conversation, and then everything else is kind of like on the side,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
cool. It's a cool transition.
Yeah. It's funny because it was last weekend. I was actually gonna try to hit up like a couple people, literally like maybe like two people, like just be
Hmm.
like, hey, you want to like come over, or like you want to just like split a bottle of whiskey and just like sip on it and just like chill, hang out, catch up, and talk. And then like it was kind of weird at first because I was just like, I don't want to like invite too many people, but I also felt bad. I was just like, man, like it would be cool to catch up with so many people, but then like I can't imagine like trying to have like an in-depth conversation, like even like in a small group party thing, like with when it's like 6 people, it's hard to like divert your attention to like every single like person, like it was just like slightly overwhelming, and like things kind of like fell apart, and like things just didn't work out, and it's like, okay, well, there are
Hmm.
many more weekends for this to happen. So anyone out there, don't be surprised if I hit you up for a one-on-one, mano-a-mano conversation with some whiskey.
That would be cool. That would be
Yeah.
cool. And I think that's like what a lot of people struggle with, and I struggle with it a lot too, is like we want to spread the net so wide, but it like makes it so much harder to have that focused conversation that's wholesome, that you guys actually get into the weeds of it and like get real,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so many other people there, and it's like impossible. You can't divert. It's so hard to share the attention, to share the spotlight, to like and just share everything with so
Mm-hmm.
many people at the same time. I think that's kind of the nature of the beast. But I think that again, that's like to me, that's one of my favorite things about this podcast is it enables us to do that,
Mm-hmm.
to like have a small group with a focus, and our only job is to have a good conversation,
Yeah.
which I think is super cool. So I know we have a couple of our favorite clips kind of queued up, and I know it's already 8 or 9:19, 9:18. I figured we could kind of go through those because I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, we could do it.
Um,
Do you want to do yours first? We could do yours first. I think you're already prepped up
sure.
and good to go. Give me
Yeah.
1 second to pull it up real quick. Okay, here we go. So let me move this a bit. So we'll go ahead and play it real quick. So this is a clip that do you need to give like a background as to why you
Yeah.
chose this clip? What stood out to you for it?
That's a good point. I will give a little bit of context on why I like really love this clip. So this was only a couple episodes ago. This was episode 15. We featured our friend Tatiana in this episode. Um, and I think what I really love about this clip was like for me, I've been pretty close to Tati for a while now, and I've like always seen her, and like you can tell her passion is on like creating and making cool stuff. I think I love this clip so much because it shows kind of it gives you a little bit of a peek of who she was, her journey, and then like I don't know. To me, it was like almost inspirational to see someone that like she knew, she knows what she wants, and she knows that like being true to who you are, like, is so important. And I think the message itself was really cool, but I think it was also really cool that we were able to get into that level of a conversation in the podcast. To me, like, it's twofold. It's amazing because we get content like that, but then it also shows that, you know, 15 episodes in, we're getting good at this.
Mm-hmm.
We're like actually showing progress and like getting into conversations with our friends that truth be told, I can't. It would be hard for me to get into a conversation like this with Tati, even with drinks or something, or like in a party. I can't imagine us like in a party and me and Tati talking, like getting into this much depth.
Right.
Um, so I feel like for me, that's why this clip really resonates.
All right.
Yeah, there are moments where like it's like fuck, I like don't have the brain power to like do this, but that's where like the breaks, like when I end up going somewhere new, or like I like see something I really like or am inspired by like even like any other form of like art, whether it be like a museum, like movies, anime, like those things will always like rejuvenate that. And I don't think that's something that like literally I've like since I was like young, I like knew I wanted to be like some form of artist. And if it's like lasted like this long, like I'm sure like it'll continue. Like it's a part of me. I like can't like not imagine myself doing something within like the space of creativity.
Nice.
I feel like I wouldn't be true to myself. Yeah, there.
And like after listening to it, you know what I love is like, it's so crazy because when you watch, for me, you watch a TV show, and someone delivers like this really polished, epic one-liner or monologue,
Mm-hmm.
and it like almost like leaves you shaking, like holy crap, this is like really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
This resonates, and like it's nice because this isn't a super polished monologue. This isn't a statement that was scripted or planned,
Right.
but it has like the same amount of impact and like heart in it.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, like it's like that perfect combo of like real and so deep. And it just happened out of like a conversation that like we just had. I don't know. I find that absolutely amazing.
Yeah, like there's a lot of like beauty in like having this podcast, or like the way that we're doing it, because like you said, like there aren't like a lot of situations where you feel like there are times where you can sit down and just like focus on the conversation is your focus. Like there have been times, like I mentioned it like in our post shows for our older podcast, where before we used to have like music playing in the background, just to kind of like add a little bit of ambiance and like a little bit of comfortability. But there are a lot of times where like when we got into like the meat of the conversation, or just like once like we're kind of like into it, my mind just tuned out the music completely. Like it was just like I'm just 100% focused on the conversation, and then like when there would be like a weird like a lull or like the end of the topic, then I'd be like, oh, there's music in the background. Oh, okay. So it's cool that like, just like you said, like there aren't a lot of situations where you would find yourself in to have like a conversation like this, or like that. So I think it's super cool. I think one thing that I would like to do more is kind of, well, I this is kind of just like for my own personal wants and desires, is just kind of like poke deeper into like people's like inner self kind of thing. And like the usual question is like, how are you doing? But really, how's life? Do you feel like you're winning life, or do you feel like you're losing? Like get to like let's like we're especially like with our group of friends and the people that we've had so far, we're already like pretty close friends. So like I guess it's still nerve-wracking knowing that like you're on a live show and you could be spilling out your guts to possibly thousands upon millions of viewers. You don't know, or on like this is going to be recorded, right? So like it is still kind of like weird to get to that point, but that is something like I like, for me, like that's something like I enjoy talking about stuff like that. Like I enjoy, like if someone were to ask me, like really poke into me, I'd be more than happy to spill my guts kind of thing. But I mean, not everyone's like that, right? But I think that's something like I would like to know.
Who was the last person that you asked to spill their guts to you? Have you ever asked anyone that?
Actually, yeah. It was funny.
Oh.
It was funny because I was talking back and forth with one of my friends, and then like, same question. It's like, how's it going?
Yeah.
And he hit, like, this was a text, so I'm going to interpret it, however way I'm going to read it. But it was basically like, things are all right, I guess, ...
Mm.
And then, like, I literally hit him back up, and I was like, so tell me what's going on. You can't put an ellipsis in a text like this and not expect me to ask, like, is there something else behind the curtains? Like, if you want to talk about it, I'm here. I'm available. Let me know.
Yeah.
So it was cool. It was
So
like,
that's like, I mean, that seems like a perfect scenario to engage someone to give you more.
mm-hmm.
So that's nice.
So it wasn't like,
think that-
it wasn't, I guess, like from my end where I'm like, oh, let me be the one to spark the deeper conversation. It was almost just like, even if I read it wrong, for me, I was just like, no, you can't purposely type an ellipsis in a text and not be like, I don't know. For me, it's just like, no one types an ellipsis without meaning in like a text form.
Yeah.
So.
And even if you did read it wrong, I think it's always fine to ask, right?
Mm-hmm. It doesn't.
And then
we're like,
they
if
correct
anything,
you.
You're like, oh, it's okay. Things are great.
Yeah.
Things are wonderful.
Yeah.
But thanks for asking.
Yeah. It's like, now that I think about it, things are actually super awesome. It's like, oh, that's amazing, man. Tell me more about that then.
Well,
Either way,
shit.
you win.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get to hear about all the great things that's going on in someone's life,
Mm-hmm.
which is really cool. I think that's something we don't do enough of, is talking about the good news in life.
Mm-hmm.
I think we share it a lot in Instagram and Twitter, but I don't think we talk about it enough. Like, actually converse about the amazing things we do, because I think a lot of people are super modest, which is a good thing.
I think
but
that's true.
I think we miss out on it.
That's very true. And I think that people don't celebrate the small victories enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's happened for me. I used to think it was weird that like when I thought a bit about it in my own sort of microcosm of like my world, where like I tend to beat myself up over every like small thing, and then I started to realize, oh, I'm not the only one. There are a lot of people out there who kind of do the same thing. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to tell people, like, sometimes like we need to stop like just beating ourselves up and like applaud ourselves for the small things. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I woke up this morning. I did something. I woke up, I brushed my teeth. Pat yourself on the back. That's something good for you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's something as little as that, like just acknowledging that, like the small victories, just acknowledging the small victories can change the entire outlook of like your day, right?
Mhm.
As opposed to being like, oh dang, I woke up late, I didn't do any work today, all these negative things. But you could be like, I started my laundry. Did I fold it? No, but I started it, and then I can do it later. I got a project started. Maybe I can finish it later. Like it's there. Like, I think it's like the way that social media is, where people kind of like people are open to celebrate like the big things, right? And like people have come to I can't think of the phrasing. People feel like you should only celebrate the very big things and not the small things. The small things, it's like, no, there's no need for me to celebrate this. Why would I pat myself on the back for brushing my teeth?
Mm-hmm.
There's no need for that. But why not?
Mm-hmm.
Why not? That's a win. You've defeated plaque and cavities. That's a victory for your teeth, my friend. So don't stop brushing. Don't stop brushing. Don't forget to floss. Do what you gotta do.
Yeah. I think the thing, to me, I think the biggest lesson I've learned more recently is, I think there's like a perspective to everything. So I think there's certain days where you view everything as a loss, and there's certain days where you can view everything as a win. And I mean, it's not always going to be black and white.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's really cool is the fact that exists means everything that can happen, you could have a perspective where it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And then if you can open your mind to that world, it becomes easier to see the good in everything.
Yeah.
Which you're not always going to do that, but being able to see it makes it a lot easier to recognize the good things that are happening in your life.
Yeah. Like
And then that lets you get through bad things.
I feel like just like talking to somebody else and like you talking about like small accomplishments and them being like, man, good job. Like it feels nice. And then you slowly, I feel like it grows on you, right? The positivity and looking at things at like a more positive aspect and stuff like that. So you slowly learn to like kind of do that on your own, as opposed to having to look to someone to give you praise or acceptance. Like just coming to the realization that, oh, I could flip my perspective on this. Let me take a step back and like, let me find the positives in this situation. Maybe I'm just looking at it in the wrong direction. And like just by like hearing it from someone else, you can kind of like adapt that and take it as your own. Hopefully, at least that's how I kind of see it. Like where it's just like a small life lessons from friends.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there was a while where it became really hard for me to learn from other people. Like I guess there was like a time where I was like, man, can I really learn from someone else? Like, can this guy teach me anything? I knew the idea, like you can learn something from anybody. There's always a lesson to be learned from every single person you can run into. But I kind of forgot that, and I like lost sight of it. And I think I got too high on my own horse that I like kind of forgot about all the little lessons that you can learn from all the different things that people go through and all the little things that they can share with you that, like, if you're not actually looking for them, like, they'll pass you by because life moves so fast.
Yeah.
But speaking of moving fast, time is moving crazy fast in this podcast. Like, I feel like it always does. Which is crazy. I was like listening to another podcast and I feel like that hour felt forever. But when you're doing a podcast, it's nuts how fast it actually goes by.
Yeah, exactly. Just like when you're in the moment.
Yeah. So I know we have one more clip, and I want to get through that before we start,
Okay. Yeah.
catching up with each other. So, care to share your clip?
Yeah, so this was my clip. I kind of chose this. Now, honestly, I feel a little bit selfish because it is something that I kind of brought up. But I thought it was just something interesting. So I'll go ahead and play it. I think that's all in the background I really need on it, but we'll see. What do I want to be doing in my life? What do I want to? How am I gonna reach that happiness?
Yeah.
Like what's gonna make me happy in life? So.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's a tough question, but like I feel like
It's a tough question.
You have to think about it. You have to think about it so you can find the answer for it, right?
Yeah. If you don't bring it up, or if you don't think about it, you're never really gonna find it.
Yeah.
Damn.
Right. That was it. But I thought it was cool just thinking about it, like where a lot of people don't ask themselves the tough questions. And like you said, I mean, life kind of goes by really quick, right? Like there's so many things to kind of worry about, like, and stuff like that, that sometimes you miss on like the small things. Like it's just like, people living their day-to-day lives, they gotta work at their boring 9-to-5 job to pay for rent, pay for food, and then you don't really have time to worry about other things, right? So even like for preface for like that talk, it was just kind of like, what are you doing to make yourself happy? Like are you happy in your life? Like I feel like that's like you would kind of assume that if people aren't happy, they're gonna do something and change it, right? It just seems like common sense. You're not gonna stay somewhere that you're not comfortable in staying. But unfortunately, sometimes that's kind of what you have to do. It just seems like you're trapped. Like, you have to work that boring 9-to-5 job so you can, pay for your rent, pay for your food, pay for your vehicle expenses, insurance, do all that stuff. And you don't really have time for yourself, right? But sometimes you do need to find time to go back and think, ask the tough question, am I really happy here? If not, like, what can I do to change it?
Mhm.
I mean, it's easy to like, it's easy to ask the question, and then the action obviously can be very difficult. But I think you need to at least ask yourself the question to get started and get moving.
Mhm. Yeah, I think the first. I mean, everyone says it. The first way to solve a problem is like being aware that it exists,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that starts by asking the question.
Mm-hmm. Like
I
even if it's
believe
like
that.
even if it's just like uncomfortable to ask, I think that's. I think if you like subconsciously realize that it's a weird question to ask yourself, I think that's even more of a reason to ask it, right?
Mhm.
Because that therein lies like almost like an issue, that like
Yeah.
oh there's something here, and like it honestly like it's terrifying. It's frightening to come face to face with an uncomfortable situation or some like an unknown situation that you may not know how to deal with. Like it could literally be a life changing like question.
Yeah.
Hopefully for the better. But I think it's something that a lot of people don't do, and it's tough. Like you said, like if you don't realize there's a problem, ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Mhm.
No need to make any changes if you don't see any problems. But if you ever come across it, I think you definitely should take the time and like really. I feel like that's like a nice basis question. It's just like, am I happy right now? And I know you brought it up a couple times where like just like working with purpose, working for like a point, a reason, right?
Mhm.
Making sure you're like the actions that you're taking are for some greater purpose.
Yeah. I mean, it was like a book I read a long time ago, but it's like Start with the Why, and it's by Simon Sinek. It's like such a good book conceptually on like why you should start anything by asking why and understanding why you're doing it. And then once you have that, I love that concept because it becomes like your North Star. Whenever you're not sure about what you're doing, if it doesn't align to that original purpose or that original why, then you have to really question about it and see, maybe I'm not looking at it at the right perspective, or maybe I need to drop this thing. And I think a lot of the times the right answer is to drop something. But like you said, a lot of the times it's the hard thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so fascinating to me because I think when you're not sure what to do and you want to improve, go towards the area that you struggle with the most. And that's basically your indicator on what you need to get better at. But it's also the hardest thing, and that's why you need to improve on it. It's this weird catch-22, but
It's
that's what you got to do if you really want to improve.
it's the idea of like it's the idea of getting into some place that you're not comfortable.
Mhm.
Like when you're comfy and cozy, you don't want to leave that spot. But like, sometimes to make things better, like you gotta see what's out there. You gotta dive into the unknown. Fail if you have to. At least find out from there. Like, this wasn't meant for me. But like again, same thing. It's easier said than done. Like I know, especially for me, there are a lot of things that like I'm terrified of doing, and like, I'm not saying drop your job and go for some dream. Like drop your job and become a spear fisherman. Like, come on. At least have like think it through a little bit before doing something intense like that. But like, it's hard to convince yourself to be like, I want to go out of my comfort zone into some place I have no idea if I'm gonna like it or not.
Mhm. But I think all the best things in life are going outside of your comfort zone into that unknown, dealing with things we're not used to. And I think with that, it perfectly transitions into what I would like to talk about next, which is dating.
Okay.
I feel like dating is like that perfect example of like, especially at least for me, like once you get out of college, or like once you've been in a relationship for a long time, you kind of fall into that like little rut-ish mode where you're like, should I delve into something better or should I stay comfortable? Like it becomes a very interesting place, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know, I mean, and that what I really want to ask, which Mark is like obvious, is how has your dating life been? Because I've heard some spicy news has happened recently that
All right.
kind of relates to it.
Okay, so to be honest, my dating life has been kind of at a lull, and that's kind of my own fault. The reason why I say it's my own fault is honestly I haven't been really looking. Like it was kind of just like I went on like a couple dates and like didn't really go so well. Like I mean they were okay, but I mean they didn't really result in anything, and especially like where I'm at right now, I feel like I don't really have too much time, or it's like I don't want to devote time into it. So I've been kind of just like, you know, if things happen, cool. If not, I don't really care. Like it's kind of like it's no for me. It's like I'm nonchalant regardless if like, oh cool, she wants to go out and get drinks somewhere, or I'd rather not. You know, like I'm kind of like, I don't really care. So that's kind of there. But the spice that you're talking about relates to someone from my past. Which, okay, so backstory, quick. I'll do a quick backstory. So, me and this girl Diane, I'm gonna call her Diane. We kind of had like a past history where things kind of happened and things kind of fell apart, and I kind of goofed it up, so it's kind of just on me, right? And things kind of ended. So this past weekend, me, Diane, and our mutual friends, we ended up going out for drinks on Friday night. And things are cool. Like to be fair, it kind of took some time for me to kind of like get over things and just be cool with everything. And I was like, you know, I'm fine. I guess like the biggest thing for me was just like normal, like with normal dating. I don't know if this is normal for everyone else, but for me it was basically like once like things kind of fall off, that person no longer exists, right? Like it's just like you're most likely not ever gonna see them again anymore, right? So with Diane, I was just like, you know, I know we kind of share like a similar friend group, like stuff like that. So yes, there's a potential that we may run into each other again, but I need to convince myself, it's just like normal dating, you don't exist to me, and I don't exist to you anymore, and that's kind of it. So I went on. I decided to go out, and I was like, you know, I was going through like a stressful week of school, and I was like, I did really well on my test. I was like, you know what, let's go out, let's drink with like a different crowd of people. You know, like we've been talking about the podcast and just like catching up with friends and trying to reach out to like other people we may not talk to a lot. So I was like, you know what, screw it. This is a good chance to just put what we're preaching into practice. So I went out, and it wasn't like a surprise that I was gonna be there, because they did ask, like I felt guilty. I almost talked myself out of it because I was like, I probably shouldn't go. It's probably not gonna be good for me. But I had a decent hand in like kind of like organizing and planning everything, because like my friend group, they're not very good at planning things. So like I had to basically be like, so what time and where are we going to meet up? And they keep like saying like different times, different places. Oh, I get off at this time, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, so what time and where are we going to go? I was like, no, like what is the plan?
Yeah. Put a stick in the ground.
But because I said that, I in turn have a responsibility to be like, well, I have to be there, because I was just like, all right, well, this is now, like, I felt guilty where like it was just like, you know, I had a part to play in planning it, per se.
You started the ball, yep.
So I have to show face. So I end up getting there. Another backstory. Everyone gets there early. They get there at like 5:30. We're supposed to meet up at 6:30. So like at 5:30, they're like, "Oh, is Mark still coming?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, I just left my house. I'll be there like in an hour."
Like we planned.
Like we planned. So I was just like, did they plan this without me, that they're gonna get there like early? Different things happened. People were like off work early, so they just headed straight there. But like no one said anything, and I was just like, okay. Like I told them, I was like, I'm sorry that I'm late. Like you guys could have told. Like I was literally doing nothing all day. Like at 4, I took a nap because I was like, I have like an hour.
Like that.
It worked out because they had like an hour wait time for like this like secret bar they had to go to. So I was like there at the perfect
That's
timing.
Cool. Okay.
Anyways, I muddled too much in the pre-story.
Yeah.
So we get like we're doing like this bar crawl, and like I haven't talked to Diane. Like it's kind of, we did like the hello and stuff, and she was talking to like one of our other friends. So I was like, okay, whatever. And in my head I was like, you know, I'm cool with us being strangers, because even when stuff was happening between us, it was like on the down low with like our friends. So like it didn't seem like anything was off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm not like talking or like directing my full attention to her, right? So we're chilling and stuff like that, and like I'm like, cool, you know, I'm good with us like not like being super interactive and stuff like that. It's kind of like no big deal, whatever.
Yep.
And then she starts texting me in the middle, like while
you're there,
while we're talking. Yeah. While we're like in our group.
That's like a I wish you were talking to me thing.
I know.
Why haven't you talked to me yet? Is that what she said?
No. So we have a history of like
being sneaky.
yes. But and like one of the things that like sparked like our interest in each other was just like an anime. So she hit me up, and she was just like, "Oh, we need to catch up on such and such sometime."
That's what she texted you?
Mm-hmm. So I was texting her back, so we were going back and forth about like, you know, because like it's a show that I know a lot of.
They're still there. Yeah. Wait,
we're like in couches, just like hanging out, drinking, and like we're kind of like we're subtly like on our phones. Yeah. Yeah. So we're kind of going back and forth, and then like I was like, I'm not gonna read into this. It's just like if she wants something to happen, she can ask for it. Because like for me, I was just like I goofed the last time, so I'm not gonna do. How do I phrase this? I don't know how to phrase this. It was like I messed up and she cut me off. So I don't see a reason for me to go back unless she calls me in. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, but she texted you.
Kind of ish, but it wasn't like I don't know.
Is texting kind of ish? I think it's empirical. I think she either texted you or she didn't.
Yeah, but I was just I'm just reading it like straight up like text, like nothing. There's no
nothing more.
Hidden
nothing
agenda.
Less. It's just hey, we should catch up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like I was like I'm not gonna like I said, like I messed up, so she cut me off. So if she wants something else, you can ask for it. But I'm not
gonna read into it.
I'm not going to read into it. But everyone, the
here
couple
we are
people,
talking about
the couple people, yeah, exactly. The couple people I've talked to are like, no. Like I was talking to one of my friends, and he was like, she doesn't want to watch anime. She wants to watch Animark. And I was like, oh Jesus
That's
Christ,
funny.
man. I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, no, I can't. I was like, I can't. I can't. It's almost like I don't have like a part of me is just like I feel like I shouldn't like poke in and be like, so do you want do you want to start over? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because it's kind of like, it's almost basically like, it was basically like a throwback to like how we kind of got started.
Yeah.
So for me, I was just like it was just like I was cool with us being strangers, and then you're like, hey, let me bring up like fucking old shit and bring everything back at once.
Wait, what? Was there more? Did you guys just say, hey, we got to catch up on anime? And you're like, yeah, we should. And then end the conversation?
I talked about it. I was like, so what's going on, and like what?
Wait, so you guys actually caught up on anime over the text?
Slightly, yeah.
And then, where's the conversation at now? Because a text message.
That was I basically kind of like ended it there. Like we kind of like talked about it, and I was like, oh, where are you at? What's going on in like the anime and stuff like that? And then she's like, oh, these such characters happening. So we caught up on like the anime a bit, and then it kind of ended. And then
actually,
how
did you say bye to her?
She had to leave early. I think she was like visiting family or something at Disney Springs. So when she left, like we hugged, and then that was kind of it.
You didn't say anything? You guys never even addressed the conversation at all? That you didn't say like,
oh, it's nice to see you again?
Yeah,
I don't know.
You didn't say anything?
No.
It was just like a bye hug.
Yeah, like cuz like I said, like for me it was like I goofed up. So like in my head, like I was already thinking like, should I say that I'm not going to go to this so she can go? Like, you know, like it's kind of like she was basically like we shouldn't see each other anymore. So for me it was just like when it ended, right? So for me I was just like, I was like, do I say that I'm going to go? And then is she just going to back out and be like, oh, you know, something came up. But in reality, it's like, oh, I don't want things to be weird between me and Mark. So I was just like, I was like, all right, I'm not gonna bring anything up. But I did text her when I got home. I was like, you know, I hope you get home safe.
Did she respond? Got home safe?
Yeah. She's like, oh, I got home safe. Something else, and then she's like, did you get home okay? And then I was gonna say like, I was gonna be like, oh yeah, I actually just got home too, and blah blah. And I was like she, because her last question was like, did you get home safe? And I was like, I always do. I left it there. I was like, I'm just gonna leave it. I'm not gonna read too much into it. Just like if she wants to hang out, she can ask me to hang out, but I'm not. Like I said, like I was cut off, so I feel like I shouldn't be the one to be like, "Oh, do you want to hang out now?" That's how I read it. So is that the right move?
You know, the thing is, Mark, you're telling me this thing, but your storytelling, your reactions, your emotions, if I had to guess, it sounds like you want to do something else. It's like you're conflicted. That's what I'm hearing.
I mean, truth be told, yeah, I am conflicted. It was just like, it like in my head, I was like, I think I'm over all this, and then, like her texting me like in the middle of like us like hanging out and stuff. I was just like, god dang it. It like reawoke that, and I was like, I don't think I am over it. So it's like a part of me is like I would want something to happen, but at the same time, like, she's the one who told me we're done. So if she wants something to happen, then she can ask me for it. But I don't think it's right for me to be like, oh, so do you want to hang out?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, me personally, I think you stick with your convictions. I think if that's what your guts are actually telling you, you should follow that and trust that your instincts are right. And if she does hit you up, then you get the go ahead.
Yeah.
Then you just lean in because this is what you told yourself was your game plan.
Yeah.
I think that's
until then is just, I was just like, you know.
Yeah, you have a plan and you're fine. And I think it's natural. I mean, you guys, your thing with her with Diane wasn't that long.
No.
So, no. I mean, I think it takes time. and I think it's funny. I think it's in our nature. Like I don't know what it is about. I'm the same way. So I fall so hard sometimes, so fast.
Yeah.
It's so bad. I think of it happens so often. So I don't know. Maybe it's in our blood. Maybe it's our family. I have no idea.
I have no idea either. But we'll see. If she asks me to watch some anime, because I was like, maybe I asked her, maybe I leave it there, leave the thought there, and be like, you know, if you want to catch up on anime sometime, let me know, because I'd be down to rewatch some old episodes. I was tempted.
You see, if that, I wouldn't approach it that way.
I was
If
thinking
you
about saying
want
that, but I was
after
like, no.
I'd say let's watch anime.
I was like,
I wouldn't
I'm
say
not gonna.
if you want to, we should. I would say let's, and then she says yes, and that means she wants to, and she says no, that means she doesn't want to.
Yeah.
But I would put it that way versus phrasing it. Is this what you want? I don't think that usually works.
True. Yeah, I was like, I'm just not gonna. I'm not gonna.
But yeah,
I was like, if she like I've been telling myself, it's just like if she wants to talk, she'll hit me up.
Yep.
Because where we ended was I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk anymore. So it's like cool.
Yep.
I'll deal with it. I'll accept it. So when you want to talk, you tell me when we want to talk. But until then, I ain't talking.
Yep.
I'm not gonna do anything until
Yep,
you want to do
I
anything.
agree.
And
I agree.
it kind of
you're
sucks
playing
where
it the right way.
I'm waiting, but it's at the same time, like I've already come to terms where it's just like I said, I'm cool. I was cool with us just being strangers, and you know, if we hang out again, cool. I'll deal with it that way. But like I said, if you want something to happen, don't be like. I need the go signal.
Yeah.
So
I think the thing that kills me, that I have to say that I think is really interesting, is you say, I'm over it, or all that, but then you started it by saying, I'm waiting. And it's like such a... I know what you mean. You kind of hope it happens.
I kind of
There's
hope.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, to be fair, I do. But like, I mean, honestly, if nothing happens, like I've already taken the steps to, you know, kind of accept that and be cool with it. But it was just like, it was kind of like don't tease me like this, you know, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it was just like it would have been cool. I could have like played it cool and like smooth and like whatever, fine, nothing would have happened. But then it was just like you stirred up the pot. You stirred it up a bit with that text. I was like,
just
damn
enough.
It. Yeah. But yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. If nothing happens,
You have to keep me posted.
whatever.
I want to hear more about. I feel like this has been perfect. Like this is just enough juice. But I think you're in a good spot. I had to say one thing. I think it's you have to stick with what you said you're gonna do. Like if you drunk text her, your whole plan is ruined.
Yeah. No, yeah. That's
Anything
why,
like that.
That's why I'm like really. That's why I'm real. Like again, it all goes back to you told me that like we shouldn't talk, we shouldn't hang out. So I'm still at that point until you're like, oh, let's talk again, let's catch up, let's hang out. Then I'll be like, okay. Even then, I'll still be kind of on the fence of being like, you know, are we actually cool, or, you know, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
That we shall.
So
I think we're about at time.
Unfortunately, yeah, we're about. We got a couple minutes left. Unfortunately, I had a topic, and then want to talk to you about. But I mean, I don't think we can get to it within the 5 minutes.
Nah.
I think it's kind of like in depth. We can always talk about it another time.
And
Bring it up,
I'll
bring it up.
give you the abridged version, and why I don't want to talk about it right now is, well, I guess I'll just say it. The topic we were going to talk about was like bourbon. It's like, or whiskey. That's like my drink recently. And if I can give I'll give like a 30-second thing of why I don't want to talk about it right now.
Okay. Then that's,
Is because I just watched a documentary about like the history of bourbon and what makes it so amazing. And there was a couple of things that I thought were really cool, but the thing about bourbon is like it's a process. You go through the whole aging process, and the master distillers of bourbon, they usually only have 3 batches of bourbon made in their whole lifetime
Oh wow.
because of how long it takes to make good bourbon. Like it takes they keep it in a barrel for so long to make quality bourbon. The ones that are again master distillers, they only taste 3 batches, so they have 3 shots of making really good bourbon. Is like what they said,
Oh dang.
and it was really cool because it talks about like the whole process and how it takes it slow, and then they talk about how the beauty of bourbon is that it isn't a drink that you take shots with. It's a drink that you have a bottle and you have a glass, and what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to sit down, you're supposed to slow down, and you're supposed to enjoy it and have a conversation with someone over it.
Dang.
And because of that, I don't want to rush the conversation because I
Okay.
think it's so cool and it deserves that same respect.
Okay.
But with that, we do have just enough time to do our conclusion, I would think.
Yeah, I mean technically we did start late, so we're still within the time frame.
Mhm.
But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Again, it is something a little bit different, and I hope you're looking forward to more stuff like this because we will more than likely do another sort of recap and see where we're at, where we're going. Do we like where things are headed and stuff like that? So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I definitely did. I had a good time with this and kind of like reminiscing on like where we've been, you know, the experiences that we've had so far, and looking forward to the future. But since it is that time, we will go ahead and start closing up. So as usual, I want to go ahead and thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching, whether you're watching live here on Twitch, twitch.tv/PirateLolo. The podcast will always be live on this channel. Again, www.twitch.tv/PirateLolo. We'll be live Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want to catch the show live, you can always come early. We usually have a pre-show, usually around 8:30, 8:45-ish. Even if we're not live at 8:30, I'll still be hanging out in the channel. So if you're there early, if you're there 8:30 on the dot and we're not live, just drop a hey, how's it going? And I'll be in chat. I'll be watching it because you know, I don't got too much else to do. But if you're watching it as a VOD, if you're watching on YouTube, thanks so much. Don't forget to subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. That's AlmostAwesomePros. That's our username. So you'll always see when the podcast gets uploaded to YouTube. Most people say click the bell so you get the notification when we upload a video. If you would prefer that, do that. Be my guest. I'm not gonna force you guys to do that there, but you're more than welcome to do. The option is there if you want to get those notifications. You can follow us on Instagram, @AlmostAwesome_IG. We post little bits of content here and there, just like small previews of like the past episodes, maybe inspirational quotes to help get your day started on the right foot. And I don't know if you've been. I mean, I'm not avid on Instagram, to be honest. So I know you've been kind of working on it and dabbling into it. So I don't know. Do you usually like put a story up for like when we're about to go live, or was it like a one time thing?
Yep. So I would say follow our Instagram. We do. I usually do. Sometimes, truth be told, I'm slack and I need to tighten up on my own roles and responsibilities. But we usually post an Instagram story that has a little bit of a blurb of our guest and the topics we're going to talk about, as well as a little countdown reminder for when we're going to go live on Mondays. So definitely recommend checking that out if you want to get, you know, real-time updates on what's to come on the stream. And then yeah, other than that, we usually post, some of our favorite tidbits, some of our favorite clips or quotes from the podcast itself. So if you ever want to just take some bite-sized content or chunks of, some of our highlights, that's the place to check it out.
Oh, you can also follow us on Facebook. We do have a Facebook page. I believe it should be under the same name, Almost Awesome Pros. I'll have to double check. Worst case, I'll put it in the description of the YouTube video, so you can check us out there. Because I'll usually put like a message, letting people know, hey, we're about to be live in a little bit, so come on, check it out. I'll even post like the YouTube videos in case you're not able to catch us live Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time at twitch.tv/PirateLolo.
So then I think with that, we're good.
So, as is tradition with our podcast, we like to end the podcast with a 1-minute conclusion. Since we don't have a special guest this time, me and Matt are going to try something a little bit new, a little bit different, so we'll see how it goes. We're going to try to split it 50-50, do a little bit, 30 seconds each, to kind of spice it up, because it was kind of half and half. I do feel bad because we got to my topic and I'm still learning how to concise my conversations and get to the point. Haven't gotten there yet, but we'll get there. That's the point of the podcast.
It's a process.
We'll get there.
So how do we decide who goes first?
You know what? As a host, as the main head of it, I'll go ahead and I'll take the lead. I'll do my best. Sorry if I take the full minute because I gotta figure out how to get to my point faster.
I'm gonna say pause at 30-second mark.
I was gonna say I may put up a timer as well, just so I know my 30 seconds.
Okay.
All right. Ooh. So now we're slightly over the hour mark. I gotta fix my closing statement a little bit better too. All right.
You ready?
So you ready? Yeah. You want to count us off like usual? Oh.
Yeah. Are we gonna do a smooth transition? Or are you gonna try to do 30 seconds and then?
I'm gonna try to do 30 seconds. I'm gonna try to do 30 seconds and end. If I end earlier, I'm just gonna point. I'm gonna be like.
Okay. That'll be our transition then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I like
once I see that I'm at the 30, I'm gonna stop, point over, or finish like whatever phrase sentence I'm at.
All right. I'll wait for the point then.
Okay.
Okay.
So what's the countdown? Do you want
3, 2, 1, go.
On go?
On go.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
count us off.
Okay.
All
Ooh,
right,
I'm
here we
already
go.
nervous, man. All right. Let's do it.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
So first off and foremost, like usual, I do want to thank you guys so much for watching. Any feedback that you guys give us, just tuning in, means so much. And the small feedback I've heard has definitely helped us shape where we're going with the podcast. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I'm loving it. Still working on getting better at conversations, holding them, and just getting to my point. Unfortunately, we're not there yet, right? But we will get there eventually. We'll keep doing it. Even if we're not progressing fast, we'll get there at some point, right? And
that was crazy fast, just like this episode of the podcast. Again, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and echoing Mark's statements. I think the biggest takeaway is even though time moves fast, it's always nice to slow it down, look back, focus, and enjoy moments with someone. Sit down and have a good conversation and focus in on those moments, and it'll be worth it. With that, we are done.
let's have more talks. We'll see you next week, guys.